Today we're going to take a tour right around the very, very heart of Naha, of the city of Okinawa, and we're going to have a look at the pottery district and discover how it got here and some of the history behind it. Okay, so we'll get moving. I have to put my mask on because we still have quite big cases of corona here. Still have quite a big problem with COVID here. There's not really many people out and about, which is lucky for me, and hopefully I won't bump into lots of people, but I'll keep my mask on and try to keep my distance a little bit. So we might change up the route, but we'll still get around everything. Let's get up, get moving, and see what happens. Okay, so here we are. The start of our tour today is one of the giant shisa dogs. Okay. In case lots of you didn't know, which sometimes we come across people not really understanding where we're at, Okinawa is a small chain of islands located in the East China Sea. It's between the four main islands of Japan and then Taiwan. In between that, there's this series of islands. There's actually about 150 islands, many of which are uninhabited. About 111 of them are uninhabited, and 49 are. Okinawa as a total, which includes all those islands, has a population of about 1.5 million people, which is not so many. And we are on the main island, the biggest island, which is about 66 miles long, and at its widest is about 7 miles wide. On the main island, in the capital city, there's a population of about 320,000 people, so it's quite populated here. Today we're in Tsuboya, which is the name of the little district we're in. It's right in the heart of Naha, and we're going to go and explore the pottery district. You might be able to see behind me the giant shisa dog. Let's just spin around and have a proper look at this. It's enormous. There's two of these giant shisa dogs located in Naha. They're actually really quite close to each other. Hold on, we're just going to spin around and get ourselves started. There we go. Signal is much better now, which is great. Let's just get this straightened up a bit. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so this is a giant shisa, and shisas are mythical creatures which are inspired by a lion. They are said to have originated in the ancient Orient and India, and the legend goes that they will invite good spirits into your home and cast away the evil spirits. The shisa came to Okinawa from China in the 15th century. Okay, because the phone just turned itself off, we're going to take a walk to this family mart over here and grab a coffee and see if we can get it to cool down a bit. It's going to be quite an issue if we can't get the phone to stay alive for even one tour, isn't it? Okay, let's spin you around again. There we are. We will have done our start right here. The phone has cooled down a bit now. From here we're going to take a walk up to the west end of the street, where we're going to start our tour today. Now, the west end of the street is the one closer to Kokusai-dori, if anybody knows, closer to the international street. The museum is up this end of the street. Just over there you can see the museum. I think it's probably closed because of COVID. Many things are right now, but there is still so much to see that doesn't involve going inside the museum. So we're just going to cross over here, and then we get our first view of the beautiful limestone street down there. Okay, so here we are. We're at the end of the street, and here's a map. There's a map at either end of the street. That you can kind of see. There's the big main street with so many little branches coming off of it. So today we're going to talk about Okinawan pottery. The pottery is also known as yachiman, so you might hear us say yachiman a lot, and that's just the Okinawan word for Okinawan pottery. This road and this like little village is completely made of limestone, and it actually survived a lot of the war really well. We're going to see a lot of shisas, a lot of pots. You can see in the museum here. I don't know how well you can see through the window here, but we'll see lots more things on the way around that aren't through a window. I mean, for example, even outside the museum, they have a lot of decorations all set up along here that you can see. If I had all the money, I would definitely make sure that everybody in the world has got one of these Okinawan coffee cups. I just think they're quite incredible. So we're going to take a walk to find the kiln today, which is just up these steps. The first kiln. Now, I was doing a bit of research, and there is actually 2 different types of pottery. Hold on, let me just check the Okinawan names. Here. Give me 1 second. Okay. One of them is called arayachi, and this is the type of pottery that has that distinctive red color, and kind of looks a bit like terracotta and porcelain. This was made from the red clay and black soil, and it's basically made to be sort of functional, whereas you'll see the shiny glazed pot, which is called joyachi. That's made of the red clay and white soil found in central and northern parts of the main island. So I just stopped on these steps here because you can see even the walls, they've decorated them with all broken pieces of pottery, which I think is really cool. We're just going to continue up these steps. It's very hot here in Okinawa, maybe 33, 34 degrees. It's about 11 a.m. right now. There's not really very many people out at all. So this kiln up here, you can see, this is the remnants of the Wakuta kiln. You see here? This is the remnants of the Wakuta kiln. And the Wakuta kiln, which if we have a look inside, you can't really see much in there. The Wakuta kiln was mainly used to fire ariachi, so it's mainly used to fire the red traditional pieces that you see. So up here we had a friend that brought us here before, and this is where the god of pottery is. I guess it's not really the god of pottery, but it's where all of the artists would come to pray that when they fired everything in their kiln, it wouldn't break and nobody would get hurt, and it would all be successful. And I think that lots of people still do it today. They come up here and they pray for a successful firing of all of their art and their work that goes into it. It's still very spiritual. You'll find lots and lots of places in Okinawa where they will pray for the good outcome of things. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a step back here and tell you that the earthenware in the Ryukyu Islands actually has a history that stretches about 6,000 years ago. It wasn't until the 12th century when pottery and these kind of things were imported from China. And the Ryukyu Islands back in the day had very, very, very close trading relationships with China and Korea and other parts of Asia. If you've come on our Shuri tour, you would know a lot more about that. They basically started making pottery in Okinawa because of the need to store their awamori, to store their rice wine, and for practical uses. They basically started out by making large storage pots. They were the unglazed kind. They were the arayachi kind. And then you might ask, well, how did Tsuboya end up becoming the epicenter of pottery when it's literally in the middle of a very busy modern day city? And the answer to that I thought was very interesting. It basically is because when Shurijo burnt down in 1660 for the second time, they needed a way to restore it. And to do that, they needed a lot of roof tiles, and the government decided to relocate the island's pottery down here. Now, in about 1682 they did that, and they did that for two reasons. The first was because it was close to Shuri Castle. We are not far from it at all, maybe just a couple of kilometers away. The second reason was because it's actually very close to a port as well, which means it's the perfect place to have raw materials brought in and to have to be able to export your finished goods. So in 1682, this little area became the pottery district. And another reason that they chose here was because it's actually quite hilly. Like, you must have seen me at the beginning walking up all of them steps, right? Just around here. Around here you can see walking up all of those steps up there, up to the first kiln, which is just over there. And also you can see down there are the rooftops of some of the houses and shops that we will go and have a walk past. And I'm right next to the second kiln, the kiln that was mainly used to fire joyachi. So it's hilly, and the kind of kilns that they make are sort of like rising, what did they call it? Hold on a second. Noborigama, climbing kilns. So if you can look, they kind of start off lower and they climb up a bit higher. It must make sort of the firework well or something like this. So they discovered it was kind of the perfect place for it. So yeah, you can see on the sign here, it says that the Unglazed pottery was probably built in the 1880s, and there was more than 10 of these kilns, but today it's the only one preserved. Okay, so it must be the other way around. The kilns must be the other way around. This is the arayachi, so the joyachi is the other one. So we'll correct that when we go on the tour. This is arayachi, and joyachi is up there. So we're just gonna take a walk around here, and I just love it because, like, literally everything in Tsuboya is just like really thought about. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's everything. Like the pavements are thought about, the walls are thought about, the sort of trees are thought about, the roof tiles are all thought about. Everything is thought about. So here we can see the kiln just up there, and it goes right up that hill all the way to the back. Yeah, I imagine it got very, very hot and very, very smoky. And that brings me on to, well, why today is the pottery district not sort of still as busy and as successful as it once was. And well, that's because after World War II, it was actually interesting because Tsuboya, this area, remained relatively unscathed by the Battle of Okinawa, which was super lucky because everything else was ruined. And right after the war, all of the artisans around here sprung into action and actually started making all kinds of things for daily life to help Okinawans sort of live and keep living well. And Naha was also becoming very, very overcrowded. So the wood fire kilns that they were using, that we've just seen, they produce so much smoke, and obviously it's not very good for everybody's health or daily life. So by the 1970s, the artisans who wanted to keep the traditional methods of firing their art, they moved up to Yomitan, which is a much quieter part of the island, about halfway up, and it's much less populated. And the remaining ones that are actually still down here, they changed all of their kilns to gas or electric, which I thought was really interesting. Now we're going to take a walk up the street and have a look and see what we can find. There's some really cool shisas just up along the street here. So we've seen the two kilns, we've started at the street and the museum. There's also quite a lot of little cafes and workshops along the street where you can have the experience to make your own. Now you're going to see a lot of different kinds of shisa, all different types, like the arayachi and joyachi, and ones that stand up, ones that sit down. Like, there's just almost a shisa for everybody's personality. And I really love like coming down to the pottery street, and if I'm going to buy something like a new coffee cup or a gift for somebody, I really prefer to buy it sort of from all of these small local people, because even now so many of these businesses are sort of generations and generations of families has run it and have kept it going and keep the art alive, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. So we'll just take a look across the street here, because I think these shisas and these pots are really, really interesting and very, very cool. So you can see this pot here, this one is sort of quite a traditional awamori storage pot, but right next to it here you can see that these ones are actually urns for cremations, and they go into the hakas that we might have already seen before, the graves. They will cremate bodies here, put them into one of these pots, and then put these pots into the family tomb. You can see there's some absolutely stunning plates here. Let me see if I can move out the way so maybe you can get a better view of it. Like, they're just absolutely incredible. And then here we've got some very, very beautiful, brightly coloured shisas. And we've also got some slightly more serious ones. You can see that this red here is the arayashi, and that's the colour is tinted from the soil that you see here. Okay, so we'll leave this store and keep walking up the street. It's absolutely beautiful. I think every single time I come here I see something new. So just over here there is an old picture of how the pottery village was, how the old city was, the old building. And obviously, as you can see, it's got a lot more populated, and a lot has changed on this site since that picture. So we're gonna take a little walk up this way, because there is actually a what do you want to call it, a workshop up here where you can come and have your own sort of pottery making experience, and it's really, really beautiful. It's not super expensive. You wouldn't be able to take what you make away with you because they have to fire it. So you would make it and then they would ship it to you, which I think is really cool as well. It's very, very quiet around here. Very, very peaceful. If you need a bit of calm and peace from a very busy sort of trip or time, this could be just the place you need to come to clear your head a little bit. So you can see we're actually got a couple of really cool things to see here. We've got some hibiscus. These are a slight variation on the traditional ones you see. But that's the flower of Okinawa, the hibiscus. And then just here, we've got the ghetto leaves, which is what you use to make mochi. They wrap the mochi in these leaves and it gives them a very, very fragrant taste. Okay. So you can see, actually right in front of me, there's a banana tree with bananas on it. And this is where the Pottery Workshop is, where you can come and make your own shisa or a bowl. You can make a one-day thing or a whole course they have as well that you can do. We seem to have got caught in quite a group of people. So we're just gonna keep going straight. We're gonna go straight up some of these side streets up here. Because up here, when we came up here before, there was actually an artist that was glazing some of his pots, his creations. Hold on, I'm just putting my papers back. And it was a really, really cool thing to see. It's another little workshop right here. It's also really cool to kind of see how sort of modern day Okinawans are living. Very usual. Sort of family houses. I think it's great that the camera's kept itself on and everything seems to be working. We can actually see up here, it's really great, there's a papaya tree with lots of papayas on it up there. Must be the perfect season. There's actually, this is a little restaurant here. Haven't been in here before. I'd like to go someday into this one. It seems very traditional. They actually have, this is an old house, like a traditionally kept old house, and on certain days you can go in there. It's a family house, they still live here, which is why you can't sort of go in there all the time. So we're gonna stay on the back streets, I think, and just walk up here. We've got about 15 minutes left, and the plan for that is to finish walking up these side streets here, and we will get to the water pump. There's actually 2 water pumps on this street, and it's a really beautiful area, quite a sacred area, I think, where there is sort of a few nice statues and nice things. And we can just take a look. We'll stop right here if it's open and take a look at some of these beautiful pieces of art and shisas that you can get. That actually brings us out at the perfect place over at the water pump. And I think this is really cool because there's sort of like dragon shisas guarding here. There's one on each side, and this is actually the water pump, and I'm pretty sure that actually still works even now. Let's give it a shot, see if we can get, oh, it does. Look at that. That's pretty cool. We're not going to waste all the water, but it's pretty cool that you can still come here and use these really, really traditional things, and it's still being kept in a good condition today. Now, if you look just right in front of us here, there's actually, if you look really close, there's actually a sort of sacred thing where you would put the money and the incense sticks. So this must be another place where people come to pray and to pay their respects to the gods. We've actually found ourselves, this is the main road at the east end of the Pottery Street. We've actually come all the way up. So from here we'd actually turn around and we're going to take a walk back down the main center of the street, and see what we see for the last sort of 10 minutes or so. We'd take any questions, we'd stop and have a look at the whatever we find, the pots and the shisas and the cafes and the cats and all different things. So there's another store here. We'll have to pick one that maybe we can go into and ask them. So here is water pump number 2, which is really cool as well. Right next to a really beautiful hibiscus tree, a more traditional one that is. And if you look up on that roof up there, you can see we have a shisa guarding the house and the shop. You can see even on the side of the walls here, they've decorated it with some beautiful pots. So I really can't see what's wrong with these ones as to why you wouldn't keep them and use them. But what you will discover in the pottery district is that a lot of people are perfectionists. So let's just take a look. And then down here you've got some really, really beautiful plates. And so here we got some really cool shisas. Check these ones out. These ones are wonderful. Really, really beautiful. Can you see these? I like these ones a lot. They kind of have more of a angry personality, maybe. More of something about them that makes them a little bit more fierce, but not like scared fierce like a friendly, don't mess with me kind of fierce. You know what I mean? And on this side, we've got some quite funny ones here. Slightly different attitude here with these ones. We've got some cups here. You'll see there's lots of these. These look a lot like the awamori cups that you would drink the awamori from. And just here, they have chopstick holders, which are really cool. Such sort of little things that make a big difference, right? And it's all the little things that make this street and this pottery village just as sort of quaint and amazing as it still is. Some might say that the things are really expensive down the street, and I would say yes. Some things are very, very expensive. Many things are very, very reasonably priced. Here you can see some dragons. These are super cool. They're exactly like the dragons from Shuri Castle. If you come on our Shuri Castle tour, you might have seen a dragon that looks just like that, or a few dragons that look just like that. And I think maybe one day, if I ever get to have my own house or my own dojo, I think I'd have to get a set of these dragons and stick them outside. And some shisas. Basically, I would decorate the whole outside in quite spectacular fashion. Okay. So we're about, I would say, halfway back down the street. There's sort of more and more little shops that we can stop and have a look at if people want to. I've got a couple of really beautiful pottery pieces and a teapot. It's definitely worth the cost, I would say. Just going to hold on a second, and we're going to cross the street to take a look at this shop right here. It's got some really beautiful blue glazed things on the outside of this one. There's actually a blue shisa, which again is pretty cool. Yeah, and there's some really cool cups and plates and bowls here. Look at these. This blue down here is quite literally the ocean colour on a good day in Okinawa. That's really quite spectacular, isn't it? And then over here, this colour is just stunning. Really like this. We've got some really beautiful dishes here and chopstick holders, and all the different kinds of cups you could want. And this up here, this is actually what you would use to pour hot awamori from, hot rice wine. So you would heat the rice wine up and pour it in the top in there, and then it would keep it actually insulates it quite well in there, and you would pour it out basically like a teapot, and you drink it from these sort of tiny traditional shot glasses, which I always think they're super cool. I don't think they're really used in the traditional manner much anymore, but they're definitely really cool decorations to have. There's more shops that we can have a look at if people are interested in doing that. I think this will be our route that we take. It would be starting out at the museum and the big shisa, heading around up to the big kilns, walking up the back streets, explaining a little bit of the history at the same time. And then if you look, we've actually just made it back to where we came down from the kilns to. We already had a look at this shop here. It's quite warm, but hopefully in September the temperature will start easing off maybe a little bit, and it would mean that the phone will overheat a little less. We'll of course try to keep it as cool as we can. It's a little bit difficult to keep anything cool in an Okinawan summer. And so here we can see, you can hear these birds really being loud with each other up there in the tree. Which is, I quite like the nature, how much nature that there is. So we can finish with taking a look at some of these cool shisas. Yeah, which again, I think they've all just got such personalities to them. Okay, so I think that will be the end of our tour of Tsuboya. Thank you for joining me. Everything here right now is changing really fast, and it'd be really cool to sort of document and remember Okinawa sort of as it changes and throughout sort of all of its journey, right? Like, I think it's really, really cool to see all of the old pictures of Okinawa, like as it's changed throughout the war and sort of before that and all of this. So it'd be really cool one day in sort of 20 or 30 years time to look back and sort of see how much it's all changed from then, really. So I'll go and have an edit and see what it comes out like.